Welcome to the legendary Cross-Continental Clash. I am Luke Wonderland, and I'm here with Katie, innkeeper's lore.
Great. We said that's the best I can hope for. But yes, my name is Katie of the Lore Keepers Inn. I'm keeping lore and
Lore
keeping score
Keepers
today
Inn.
at the LCCC. So thank you for that introduction, Luke. Wonderful.
That's
But
for
yes.
every Wonderkin joke you ever made.
Yeah, right.
there.
This is Katie. She's got, I don't know. But yeah, it's round 3. So that's crazy that we're already on round 3. We have two big players here. So what's the plot? What's going on? I mean, are these defeated, undefeated? I know, but I'm leading you to see if you followed my notes.
You're leading me. You're like, is he? I'm gonna make him drop the ball and look bad. That'll get him back.
Feel like I don't think any of these guys play Lorcana.
So Artabax took down Ed in the first round, and Kurt took down Teotime. And then in round 2, Artabax took down Federico, and Kurt took out Spessy. And, we do have some cards. We'll look over their deck list in a little bit, but let's go over these lovely player cards that are made. We can't ignore them.
Well, we can't ignore them because they can't be ignored. These are quite the accomplishments. Artabax here, his first accomplishment is being associated with a deck, which I find that is a huge accomplishment in Lorcana. If you get to the point where people are like, "Oh, that's that person's deck," that means you've done it. But he's changing the game a little bit this season, which we can talk about. But originally, he's associated with Emerald Amethyst. You know it, you love it. You're bouncing, doing mischief, and then 2 times top to the pack. Is that tops the pack? I can't read that last letter. And also top 25 of Pixelborn, season 1 through 4. So he was out there, he was playing, and so that's Artabax. You know him. If you don't know him, what are you doing? But he's undefeated. And then who's our other player?
Well, it's none other than Kurt Spice, who has top 8'd. Oh my goodness. Sorry, I clicked something I wasn't supposed to.
Oh no, you're like,
I thought for a second I was going to move the screens, and then I got really worried, and I didn't.
We're good. We still got it. I think so. I don't know, but it looks good.
I don't know. Maybe we still have it. We might still have it. He top 16 the NA Championship, top 4 DLC Chicago, top 8 the SSG 10K. Has played since the beginning of Lorcana, basically. I remember watching him playing in the Invitational. I think it was the Star City Games, possibly, or TCG player. There was a light affiliation, but I know that Tandy did it. Todd Anderson was really into it. And so they hosted a sponsored one. I think Frank Karsten showed up. Jeebus was there. And Kurt won one of the last chance qualifiers to be able to play into that. And I'm pretty sure he was playing a variation of Amber Steel Song, which instantly made made me a big fan of him.
I mean, it was the best deck first, I think. It was the best, and it's still in my heart, the best deck. It's like when I see someone play that, I'm like, that's a person that gets it. But we're not seeing that today because, the sign of a player is you adapt with the times, which we're going to see both players have adapted to the times. And the cool thing about this, and I think some people ask this in the questions or in the chat, is, so are you allowed to change your deck list? And yes, but you must stay in your ink colors. So that's what makes this a little bit different. Normally you're like locked in, but the tournament started right after set 3 came out. So I think that was something special to this LCC that wasn't the same the first one, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we do see him adapting over time. Now, the first to second deck, not much change, but huge change this week.
Oh, yeah. So it is one of the nice things of this. That was some of the issues some people kind of had in the last one, is that the meta changes, and if you're stuck with the same deck, it's brutal. And as you were saying, the LCCC this season started with a fresh set. People locked their decks in basically the day of release. Brews, it's all speculation at this point, right? We haven't been playing. There's no way to play beforehand. So, obviously the lists are going to change. So it's nice to be able to have that shake up, but still kind of keep like a theme based, where it's like, oh yeah, don't just constantly swap to a different archetype. They wanted to prevent a sniping of meta changes once you get later in the event, where it's like, oh yeah, well, I know Sailor is on this, or I know Kurt likes to play this, so I'm going to try to swap to a counter, and you could end up getting just less pleasurable games to watch doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's the element of, like you said, the everybody's kind of shifting a little bit every single weekend. We've had some really big tournaments. Notably, we had the Hunter Bird Memorial Tournament. We also had the Charlie's Collectible Showcase. So we've seen all these decks play out. Notably, Emerald Steel did really well at the Hunter Bird Memorial Tournament, but then we didn't see it as much in the Charlie's Collectible Showcase, for 13K, I believe. So we see Kurt reacting week to week. And my biggest thing is there's one thing glaringly different between week 2 and 3: real estate. I feel like Pirate Places is a very good name because we got pirates and they're going places. Maybe not as many pirates as a pirate deck, but enough where, sure, Pirate Places seems good.
I do feel like not playing Daisy Duck is kind of like a flavor loss. But we are playing Silver, and he doesn't see a lot of play. I've played him in a few archetypes, and I wasn't too thrilled with him. But this kind of seems like it plays out differently than those previous iterations of archetypes, where like you might actually have the locations in play before the Silver, or just not really care if they take out Silver, or be able to just sing "I'm still here" on it, or have a shifted Pete in play, so they can't even really interact with it profitably. And if they do, then they're not interacting with your Diablo or your Pete.
Yeah, and as we know with these steel matchups, it is all about challenging and spot removal. We don't have the glory of an emergency eject button, of the be prepared that we all know and love from Baker singing. You're not going to hear that today. We're going to hear a lot of challenge. Well, maybe I'll just sing it because, why not? I'm here and I have the mic.
Be prepared.
You heard it once.
For no, be prepared.
So this John Silver, he's just to kind of refresh your memory, because it was a promo card in set 3. So he did have a little moment in the sun, and he was a menace in limited. But he is, for each location you have in play, he gains resist +1 and +1 lore. So at a 3/3, all it takes is 3 locations for him to be out of Zeus territory, which can
Only
be an
3.
issue. Only 3. But I mean, look at only 3. He has 15
low
locations.
Cost of 1-cost locations. You only need them.
His deck is more location than man. Not really, but still, he's got a lot of locations. He has
more location than
songs.
action. Yeah,
Yes.
More locations than actions, and that's normally not the way it kind of lines up.
Yes. So, oh gosh, sorry. I know the chat's delayed, but somebody said, "How much points do we have to redeem to get Luke as a cat?" No, this is the LCCC. No cats. We're professionals. And no cats because, there's birds. We got birds flying around. He may have been off the discard sauce and chosen to be real estate heavy. But we still see Diablo in here. So he is trying to generate some value on drawing cards against his opponent. And it's interesting because before this interview or match, I did listen to Kurt Spice post interview about his game with Spessy. And a lot of the cards he talked about, he was afraid of a blue steel matchup. So it'll be interesting to see if he still was building that deck with that matchup in mind, and if that'll pay off.
Yep. Oh, and chat caught up to us 5 minutes later. It was the Lost Boys Invitational. That was the event that Kurt was playing in. And yeah, maybe this is the sauce. We talked about location. We've said a few times before, everyone was super afraid of locations when they're spoiled. They're 1-cost, 0/4s. How do we deal? Control's dead. The sky's falling. What are we going to do? And they kind of just failed to fully impress outside of, at first, only Queen's Castle and occasionally Manor. And then Manor basically fell off. And then eventually we got some action out of Cove, started seeing play in the Diablo lists, and then Library came out, and then that kind of slowly overtook Castle. And all the people who are Library believers are laughing at the Castle believers, as Castle has definitely gone down a little bit in its value. Thanks for the sub, Katie.
Well, I was getting commercials, so I was like, it's time to sub, because if I get kicked commercial one more time. But yeah, it's interesting how many big tournaments have come down to real estate. It feels like every big tournament for me watching, do you have something that's a location? Because to me, locations feel like speed bumps. They're not going to necessarily do any damage. And well, not in the case of the mine, you could do a little damage by it existing, but it's really just there for your opponent to go, stop it. And even if two locations have entered that are just hilarious. One of them is Neverland. We've known and accepted it, but one of it is a fairy ship. Where somebody had to sell their house because it existed.
Yeah.
So it's
a big old toy house.
Yeah, and that happens. So Kurt definitely saw that locations are something to do, and of his locations, two of them are just vanilla, sit in their locations. Two of them do have abilities. We've got the Seven Dwarfs Mine, and then we also have, I believe that is the Hidden Cove. You know the Hidden Cove. I don't need to talk about Hidden Cove. Everybody knows that. So given +1 strength and willpower.
Long time best friend to Diablo to keep your characters out of brawl range. We don't want to see those brawls. And then just a Nottingham and a DeVille Manor as a basic vanilla gain of lore. Not really that often. They just haven't seen play. But yeah, it could be the secret sauce against Sapphire Steel. Like, it could just be the truth is that sure, which is funny considering they're playing a 3-3 on turn 1. Like, you would think that the 0-4 doesn't stand a chance against that, right? But
yeah,
it could really do that. All right, let's jump over and see how Artabax has spiced his lists up.
And will he have the answers? We know that looking at his list, there's a Belle, but Belle cannot sing a single song to deal with locations, which is one of the reasons that Neverland and other little weenie locations have entered the meta, is because Belle can challenge, but she'd love to sing. That'd be so much more fun. Maybe draw a card while she's there. But no, the songs that she can sing are not going to hit the locations, essentially. So that is not until we get along King Zeus. Otherwise, she has to physically go there. But he has made some notable changes.
Oh, yeah. Like, he started off with some hooks, just like some aggressiveness, triple Benja, like, which is a nod to understanding what the good things are, and started on only 3 crabs, was like, sure, I don't need them all. Could be he couldn't get his 4th in time. We don't know. He definitely changed his mind by week 2. He's like, nope, we're maxing out on Krabby Boy. Like, he's too good. We need him. It's what we want. And then by week 3, he's like, this crab's so good, I'm going to run 8. Let's just go all the way. And he just goes to a full version of, like, is there workshops? There's not workshops, but it looks like I keep seeing VW ketchup, and my brain is reading workshop. I don't understand the correlation.
Very interesting. I was vexed by ketchup because there's notably no ketchup. So I don't know if VW, maybe that's German for without. I don't know. We'll find out. Because notably there is no Mickey with ketchup, the stickiest of Mickeys. But he did add a second card that I think is very interesting, and I've seen a lot of play and a lot of value. And that is Scrooge McDuck, who you might get to play for free, but even if you don't, he's a turn 4/4. He can sing Zeus. He's getting items. He is a mid-game hero. He really can do it all once you get him on the board. And that could be something that could be very helpful with the locations that are going to be on the other side of the board.
All right.
So we do see, are we getting updates as far as, we people in the chat have noticed. So Kurt, there's traffic. You can't control that. But how much time do we think we have?
It should be starting here shortly.
Cool. Because I am excited. I'm excited to see that he went all in on items. I'm excited to see how he feels about knowing that. We've got things like Cogsworth on his side, crabs. Notably, locations cannot challenge. So that makes it where if it's a location heavy board, maybe Cogsworth's feeling more comfy. So it's going to be a little bit interesting to see how this plays out. And if they thinking about each other's deck, or they were thinking about a completely different matchup, or if they were inside the matrix and they were
inside the matrix.
They were Doctor Strange going, I have computed all of the possibilities, and this is the one deck where I win.
I don't think that's what they did, but maybe, just maybe that is what happened. Let's just hope that is. That's like the flavor win, right?
Yeah.
There.
That's what I'm doing when I go to locals. And by doing that, I mean, I look and see what is Artabax playing, what is Mo playing, what's Luke playing, and I pick the one.
So he's playing from his car, and that's okay. Like we'll make it happen. Well, normally they have to do a couple of games to figure out, and if they have to do that, then they'll know who does. Sometimes they choose to roll first. It's hard to say. I do believe so. Yeah. I mean, Artabax might want some interaction. I have a feeling that Bell is going to be his best bet, his best card right now. Just a Fortisphere. I mean, she'll happily take anything that draws a card and is an item. I mean, she's just a normal, happy, greedy girl. She just wants an item that draws cards. Isn't that what everybody wants? I just want to draw cards. Well, it looks like Artabax kind of has what he wants to be doing. He has the item into Bell, that scary turn one princess that can sing songs, and Kurt's hand is it's a hand. I don't necessarily know. It could be that he wants to open location, but in the face of a Bell, that does not seem great. But still, you don't even really want to fully go for the Diablo because you could get punished. And Kurt, he knows what he's doing, and he's decided this is what he wants to do against the Sapphire Steel archetype. Yeah, I'm really interested to see the lines that they're taking. I'm assuming Kurt is on the play and he could start with a location into an Ursula, into a Pete, or say the silver, and then you can play the mine after that, which then allows the silver to trade with any of the 3/3s it needs to and still survive because of its pesky little resistibility. And he might not even want to play the location. Sometimes it's right to just keep a card that you don't want to be top decking for ink. So let's see what they end up doing. Yeah, Scrooge is just so good. How many how many times have you seen the pay 7 play dime, exert it and 3 items to play Scrooge? Because I think it happened once or twice on your stream at the Hunter Burton. And We saw chat 5 minutes ago talking about Artabax, and I think they said his hatred of Dime. So him playing it, or maybe it's not his hatred necessarily, the fact that he never played that archetype before and was an Emerald Amethyst player. It's funny to see him draw it immediately after those comments basically go through our chat. Oh, I wonder if that's like Heinz. In 5 minutes, chat will tell us.
Yeah.
Holy, how were you muted this whole time? How did you get muted?
I wasn't muted, I don't think.
You were, but I unmuted you when we started. Did you like get muted partway through?
I don't know. Oh, wow. We have 5 minutes. That's so terrible.
5 minutes ago, somehow
That's
you
terrible.
were muted. Well, hopefully I talked during that time and didn't let you rant.
I mean, I'm always ranting a little bit. Well, I'm talking now. So we were talking about good stuff, guys. And honestly, if I said anything stupid, no one will ever know. But either way, we saw a Let the Storm Rage On taken out of the hand. And the good news is he's got plenty of card draw without Let the Storm Rage On. And he does have a dime, which is always kind of a tricky position to have that right now. He needs a crab for that to be good. Otherwise, it's just this uninkable hunk of a card sitting in your hand for a while. And he's got 3 uninkables.
Yeah, we really need to hit maybe Fishbone to take advantage of these uninkables, because I was a little worried for Kurt, but Artabax's hand is kind of stalled up a little bit.
It ran out of gas fast, which is interesting because we saw, popsicles and Fortispheres and all sorts of good treats and goodies. But unfortunately, Bell cannot sing Zeus. Fire the Cannons doesn't do anything helpful right now. But maybe that'll change in a second. Well, it's off the menu anyway. So we do see Pete come down and say, I don't know what you got, but please wait 1 turn before you do it. We do see a draw, which is inkable, and it is Pete. So that probably feels a little good. Now, I'd like to use Pete, but at the same time, timing Pete in a steel matchup can be not super fun, especially because right now, he doesn't really need a Pete to protect Bell. Bell's fine on her own. So instead, he opts for the Scrooge, keep digging, try to get some good little items, and he whiffs. He just looks sadly at those 4 cards before sending him to the bottom of the deck, which I would do the same thing and go, you duck, I kept you in this deck to get items.
Yeah, it's like you're supposed to grab an inkable card for me right here, mister.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as how many items he runs in his deck, he has a total of 14 items, so that it feels bad. That's what I'll say. Feels bad. But either way, he's still moving and grooving. He's still got some characters that can deal some damage here. As we see, DeVille Manor was taken out just by simple old challenging. So Luke is typing because he is a producer. So if you see it, it's because he is in. Because
I'm bad at my job.
No, that is because he is in the hell of going, what happened? Who's muted? Did I break it? Who broke it?
I think I had 2 camera sources for you, and one of the camera sources was muted in this scene, and it wasn't muted in the other, and I thought it was one of the sources that was the same for both, but it was 2 separate ones. So now I'm looking at people saying you're muted, and it's going to happen for another 2 to 3 minutes.
That's really exciting for me.
But I deserve it. I deserve it because I messed up.
Honestly, and it's cool because people remember that time that I was on the featured match and they didn't know what I said, and I was swearing. I said so many F-bombs, but you'll never know. So we do see finally John Silver comes into play, but we got John Silver, no locations, which means those Zeus's in hand might be coming for him. We'll see, though, if that's the priority or where he prioritizes it, knowing that John Silver only gets more powerful the more locations he plays, and a lot of the locations are low cost.
Yeah, it is an a worry. Normally, I would say, well, obviously you go after the John Silver, but Pirate Pete can be scary. But
It's
I would
yeah.
probably just challenge away and be like, sure, if you want to trade your character with mine to put you on nothing, that's fair. It's not a great place to be in. Kurt's not at really a high lore, so he could maybe wait. But if he wanted to make sure that Pirate Pete didn't get shifted in prematurely for another couple of turns, then he could offer that trade, just kind of clear the board and hope to draw something. Because like Artabax really is only a crab from having it all in a manner, right? Like he does have the bell, he could ink. If he plays a crab, he gets 2 popsicles back. He has quite a bit to do.
All right, we're still in the mute zone. I love this. I love this, but I'm not muted now. But I could be. That's the crazy thing. Who knows? So we do see him be a little aggressive here, and by little I mean he's doing what he needs to do, healing his Scrooge McDuck with a popsicle. Is that the route he went here? I'm too busy. I was like, "Are you silent, or were you silenced?" Is was just what I'm thinking. But either way, both of them kind of have a rough hand. Now with the dock, Kurt's feeling a little bit better. Looking at Otterback's hand, he doesn't have any item to play that bell for free. He can't play this dime, nor does it get any value. And then he has a fire the cannon. So both of them are kind of yikes. But they can come back. And if they're both in a yikes position, that's honestly the best situation for both of them. If they're both kind of floundering with their hands.
But Doc is so good.
All right. People says we're back. So it's too late. That's 5 minutes ago. But I will just PM me and I'll tell you everything I said.
Not much.
Not much. I was telling him about my lunch.
And I was really doing you all a favor.
Yeah.
Like she needed to be muted.
They said, ma'am, this is a Wendy's. All right. So we see a Pete come in, and it's kind of an interesting choice here. We don't have an item for that bell, but he wants to get somebody on the board. I would imagine firing the cannons at the dock could be tempting because that is just something he can do. And then we can't get that dwarf in the mine, which we know deals damage in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, my brain went off for a second. I was just like, why can't I see the top of the board? It's just slightly off.
The top of Kurt's board?
Yeah.
He moved his mat a little bit, so somebody might have given him a feedback to move his mat. So he looks like we have the 2 ink options, a Pete and a bell. They both hit for 3. One has a cool effect, but I don't know. He obviously would love to be able to draw a card right now, but all 4 cards absolutely don't do that.
All right, keep cooking while I.
All right. Something. So we do see Pete go down. At the very least, it's going to help keep some momentum on the board for him. And then will he fire the cannon on the dock? To be seen there, because Doc would deal 2 damage onto an opposing target should he move into the mine. Now, fire the cannon is 2 damage, but nope, he holds it back. He says, I'm good. And we just saw Diablo hit the board, or his hand rather. So now fire the cannon. Get that bird. And in all fairness, the firing the cannon at his characters is a dwarf moving to the mine only deals 2 damage, and he only has 1 dwarf. Now he could move Ursula there, but then that's going to start eating. It's 2 costs to move to the mine, so he just has to be judicious about what he's prioritizing on this play. Now, it's funny. The chat is asking questions about the cards, and I can answer them, but you'll have to be patient. So as far as the locations that he has chosen to put in his deck, I believe 7-Dwarf Mine, that gains 1 lore. I believe they all generate lore except the Hidden Cove. Hidden Cove does not generate lore. Is that correct, Luke?
Hidden Cove does not generate
lore.
No, it does not.
So Hidden Cove is there as a tool to help protect your characters versus the other ones there are kind of as a speed bump lore gain ability. Notably, the 2 cost locations are 6 willpower, so it definitely takes a lot more work to get them down. And now we see 2 dwarfs, 2 7 dwarfs mines That's hard to say, but we have that, and we have one dwarf. So now he could technically move from location to location. You can't move away from a location, but you can move your dwarf from one location to the next.
Apparently, I had my screens on screens B and my lures on A. So the lures were swapped around. We got that fixed for us.
We are.
And I tried to work some magic on adjusting the screen, and it did not work, but they seem to have kind of fixed it.
Yeah, we're all working together in the great technical issues of life. If we didn't have technical issues, actually, we'd never get a chance to cast again. You have to have one to prove that you care. And once you do that, they say, I know you care. And it means a lot to me. So Artabax is an interesting situation. He is got what some might call no ink, and 2 cards he cannot play, and 1 card that doesn't do much good right now. He inked that Diablo, so Diablo will not be getting any Fire the Cannon. So it's tough to say. I mean, he is working slowly. Oh, finally he gets a fishbone, which might get him out of this.
It's still not great.
It's slow, but Kurt's been having kind of a slow start too. I mean, we see him. He has 2 good cards in hand. Yeah. So he has a hole to get out of, but now he has a rope to get out of that hole, rather, or a ladder, some kind of tool to get out of a hole. Versus that hand he had before. I don't know how you get out of it.
It's like, get that dime out of here.
Exactly. So finally that dime is gone. It's ink. Now it's still kind of an issue because we see 6 ink is still, or 5 ink rather, is still not Hades level. So he still needs to ramp a little bit more, and he needs some card draw, which he has had a very hard time doing since the start of the game. A crab would be so nice right now. Just a nice, succulent, happy as a clam crab with a little bit of ink. You'd love to see it, but he has not seen it. That could help fire up this engine again. So we do see on a Kurt side that he's got kind of a better situation going on. He drew a Calhoun, which is going to be a really great tool to work as anti-quester, because basically then Artabax has to do the math of whatever I turn sideways, will Calhoun come for it? Now, she's only going to get that lore if she's going into a character and banishing them. But we do see Fire the Cannon, but she's got resist 1. So the math is all wonky here. And we do know Artabax is desperately trying to rebuild that board. That being said, Calhoun's not inkable, so at this point, might as well get her out there, put some pressure onto the board, and go ahead and play a Smee as well, and pass. And Artabax goes ahead and gets another Scrooge McDuck, which maybe this time we'll get lucky, and that Scrooge will find an item. As last time, Scrooge said, I didn't find nothing. I found no items. I ain't found anything. So we got another Scrooge redemption arc.
Is that what Scrooge said?
Yeah. So, I mean, he's looking at his hand. It's almost an auto.
It's actually, that's really flavorful. I never really thought of that, but like all Scrooge does is go treasure hunting, right? And all the DuckTales and like, so that's what you do. So searching for an item, that's actually like a gigantic flavor win. I never really thought of it that way. Like Ariel also kind of should have got items.
Yeah, I mean, she has the treasure collector one. She's collecting treasure there, so she gets more power the more dingle hopper she has. So we finally get some card draw. We get a Fortosphere on the board. He does not choose to ink off a fishbone. He chooses to let that just kind of sit because that Hades might come in handy later, especially if we see that John Silver or even that Space Pirate in hand. So at this point, he's feeling a little bit more comfy.
Yeah, it's interesting that he just like skipped inking and just played a 3/3. Like we're at this high level competitive play, and the best plays just play a 3-cost 3/3 that does nothing but pressures what's in play. And that's like an interesting thing that you see when there's so many high powered cards on both sides. They kind of clash, and then what's left over is the remnants, and then they got to do stuff where the cards that aren't good in this matchup necessarily you draw, like the dimes for Artabax. And like the bell in the mid game does nothing, or some locations that get beat down. It's like you're not seeing Diablo shift draw a bunch of cards. You're not seeing the best plays these decks are capable of, but they're still playing the game and having a really close, interesting game, even with like both subparish draws.
Now we are getting to kind of a critical point where we see the pressure is the highest it's been on Artabax. He's at the point now where he's got the Pete's base pirate, he's got a Doc, and he's got a Smee. Now, we do know that he's got Fire the Cannons. He's got a Hades. Now, he can't play the Hades quite yet. He could if he was aggressive about it. But he's got some challengers on the board. So he has to be very careful. He still has to be on the defense for at least one more turn before he can start feeling comfortable and getting that lore, which has to be a little scary. He really has to work hard to stabilize the board.
Yeah, I think it's fair though to ink the Pete and play the Hades. The question is whether or not you want to ink the cannons, which I think is perfectly reasonable ink here. It's like you ink the cannons, you ink Pete, you play Hades, you get rid of the big Pete, you challenge down the 3/3 Smee, and you're like, hey, if you want to take out my Scrooge with your Doc, like that's go for it. I'm all about it. If not, I play Popsicle, I draw a card, I heal my Scrooge, and I beat down the Doc, and I just hope whatever you top decked isn't good. But Kurt is not playing the discard package, so he's got a lot more hits.
Yeah, so we see him. He goes, I like your idea. I like your game plan, funny man. So we will see that Pete gets sent to the Inkwell. We see the Duck do what he does and charge in, take care of that pesky Smee. And now, like you said, he can heal him if he lives. And like you said, the trade, do it. Because as we see at this point, he has no cards in hand.
So Kurt just needs to draw some heavy lore right here, and that's some heavy lore. Hard to answer, especially if Doc trades with Scrooge, which might be the play, as crazy as it is. But yeah, because now Pete, it takes 3 turns for Hades to take that down.
Yeah, so I mean, he's going to need to get some impressive things. Now, he is something that gives pirate characters resist 1, so that includes himself. So Zeus is not going to do it on his own.
Chat just had a banger of a burn there. It's world-class cards, not world-class cams. But well, to be fair, I think Kurt's camera is above average. So I think that
I can see
it's
the
a
cards
very happily
and,
and reasonable thing. Yes, it's like I know what these cards do.
We've seen some troublesome things in our days, and we will accept this as the quality that we have. But we see in his hand a Strength, which has low strength right now, and a Cogsworth. But both of them are not on the menu right now because he did go ahead and pay.
Cogsworth is a card.
It is. It definitely helps with the resist math a little bit, but it's only if he has other things that he has resist to give to. And like you mentioned, that Pete, he's going to have to put in a lot of work to get rid of him. He was able to deal 2 damage, but with 1 resist, it's actually just 1, unfortunately.
Yeah. I think he's going to have to play the Cogsworth. And then next turn, going for it now. That's fine. Well, wait a second. Oh, it's not exerted, so it doesn't have resist yet. I'm like, wait, it does nothing. And this is fair-ish. Did I miss a different play? I'm just a little surprised that we didn't develop the Cogsworth.
Well, he couldn't play the Cogsworth that turn because he didn't have enough ink to, I believe. Because Cogsworth.
What else did he do?
He played a Storm.
The Storm. Okay, yes, yes. That makes way more sense.
So that is the pain here. He had to make the choice. But we see still putting the pressure on. We do have to get rid of both those cards. He doesn't win next turn, but he's still saying you got to do something. And the Hades, I believe he is, oh my gosh, what's his strength? 3. So he
should answer the Pirate Pete.
Correct. And he survives, which is nice with that resist. Playing the Cogsworth first gives it where now he's only going to take 4. Only, but still, it's nice to have that resist on
anyways.
There.
But yeah,
and he can heal.
It's nice to have that. Does he though? That's the question.
Yeah, he has not been able to get those crabs, which make those items like it's tricky because it's like, is he going to get the happy as a clam, or is he going to get so shiny, or will he never see a crab again? Is kind of where we're at right now because either one kind of changes the math a little bit on what you want to do with those items. He already has enough items in his discard where the happy as a clam would be happy to eat it.
Ursula 2, not really doing too much right here.
Nope.
But gaining a lore is gaining a lore.
I got a dead fish.
Moved her to the Deville.
Yeah, and that's nice. It's an evil castle for an evil. Oh my god. Okay, so we see Fish City It's a le poisson, le poisson. We got the
Artabax has
fishbone.
them bones.
Yeah. My favorite song of Little Mermaid is Le Poisson, Le Poisson. And it's my favorite because I forgot it existed till I watched it as an adult. And I'm like, what is this? Um, it's haunting. Okay, so he goes ahead, gets rid of the DeVille Manor. So he's still not getting lore. So it's still frustrating. But we also know that Kurt is still in his top of the deck mode. So he has a little time, but does he have enough time to stop him over and over and over again, knowing he's about to go to 18 lore?
Ooh, that's the draw that Artabax needs Kurt to see. Kurt does not like this. He can go to 18, then he's just out of a character. This Heartbreak City. It's there's very few cards in his deck that he could draw that do literally nothing, but that is one of them.
Yeah, but on the same side, it feels like Artabax has something cursed happen where they are getting just the stinkiest draws. It's whatever magic that DKP had yesterday. He took it. He took all the top deck magic. He said, "That's mine, actually." And today we get
it from the future.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're getting just some cards. You want to deal 2 damage? Not really. Want to draw cards? I don't know. So we see him keeping onto those fish bones. Now, fish bones are inkable, but he is at 7 ink, so he knows that he doesn't need to, especially with the amount of cards he's drawing. So I'm still here. Draws him a card, gives resist to nothing. Ooh, well, there's something in Artabax's hand that makes that bird a little scared for his life. So we see it. He's like, I got it, by the way. I kept this in my hand just for that bird, and ba-boom, it goes. And the bird...
Aggressive Tipo for the beatdowns. We have to win this game.
Yeah, board presence is really something he's had a hard time. He's drawn action, item, action, item, action, item. And so, yeah, why not just get Tipo out here? And
what can Kurt do? Does his deck like him? Is his deck mad with him? That is reasonable. That's not.
I mean, that could be a card winning because unless he has something to remove it. Yeah, so I mean
But that stops it. Now, well, there is
because he can't quest and he has to almost let him go a turn.
The second Cogsworth though. The new Cogsworth means that Calhoun's only dealing 1 damage. So Artabax can still just drop the Cog and quest with everything else. And I think it's the only play because of the lore counts. We can't let Kurt just play another character and pass. And we have to hope that's not a Storm in Kurt's hand.
Yeah, Kurt, he just has that sweet Strength of a Raging Fire, which deals 1 damage, which effectively deals no damage.
I guess, Storm wouldn't even help. Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, so, I mean, he's doing that mental math of how aggressive do I want to be. And like you said, with the double resist, each Cogsworth has 1 resist. Hades and Tipo has 2. So he says, okay, I guess, that's how math works.
The Fortisphere! Woo, we forgot about that hidden mode. Let's make this Cogsworth, who has Ward, have Bodyguard. This pesky Calhoun ain't doing nothing. Nothing, Katie.
Because she can quest for 1, but guess what? That'll be the last time she quests. So now we get another problem. That's the issue. Now, okay, let's see how much we got. 1, 2,
Artabax has Lorthal?
Lorthal, yeah. So even if he gets this on the board...
That strength draw for Kurt was devastating. It never feels good to get this close and not get there. But on the other side, how ecstatic Artabax has to be, because he has to have been looking at his hand of just multiple uninkable do nothing cards at that moment as just what is going to happen? But then Fishbone Quill comes in and is able to just assist right there to make sure that we actually get to see the rest of the game and we can start inking some of these uninkables.
Yeah, it was very interesting. And it's so funny when I forget. Fortisphere has a B mode. I always the mouse eats it. It's a card. But no, it does that thing where it changes the math. The math got changed twice with a second Cogsworth, a Bodyguard, and then Kurt having a card that it's ink, and it'd be really good if I had other stuff, but I don't. And it kind of shows why strength can be tricky in a locations deck, because locations aren't people. Locations aren't characters, and they're not.
Locations aren't people.
They aren't. They have no privileges as a person.
Soylent Green is people.
So we're going into game 2, and that was not the most beautiful game of Lurkana, but it was interesting because both of them were being improv, jazz. What am I going to do with these kind of suboptimal play lines? A crab deck, no crabs is kind of depressing. We saw a crab go into the inkwell and then never saw another crab again, but we saw every single one of those darn fish bones, which, one fish bone is nice, but enough with the fish bones here.
Enough with the fish bones.
It's too many fish bones, and Tipo saved the day, made the math. Tipo, JDZ is somewhere screaming, "Ban that Tipo!"
That dang Tipo ruining the day for everybody.
Sounds like he Tipo'd the scales. Thank you.
Ooh.
All right, and I'm the lore keepers in, and Luke will be handling match 2. All right, so Kirk gets to go first.
How can I follow that?
How can I just got to restart, hard restart. I mean, you muted me for about 5.5 minutes, so that's my revenge. I'll drop a good joke. But yeah, so now Kirk's going first. He needs to be more aggressive. He knows he has that location sauce, but I also think that Calhoun early can be pretty great. Not 2, that's too many. So he's definitely got some he's probably going to send back there. On the other hand, we do not see the optimal start on Artabax's side. 2 bells, no items. Well, no item, 1-drop items, rather. So both of them are definitely going to need to do a pretty... yeah. Both of them need to send back some cards, for sure. In this case, he says, I'm going to do the most aggressive of mulligans.
Got to hit that pop.
Yeah, and say, I'll send back 5. I don't need those. I can Tipo, I can bell, but if I could just got... one more ink.
Oh, boom.
Okay.
Where's
he did it.
We're
good.
It? There. Boom.
Yep, that is the perfect. Well, a dime is kind of a bummer, but don't worry. Tipo will help turn that.
I mean, yeah.
Tipo
the issue is
recycles.
we don't have a card or another item to draw off of the Flaversham. That Flaversham needed to be a Scrooge. He needed to open with item, bell, turn 2 Tipo, turn 3 play the Scrooge, get an item, then play the Flaversham, and your bell and Scrooge are just going to dominate the early board to prevent locations, to prevent an early aggressive start from Kurt, and then he's going to try to use that momentum he gains to then use his overpowered mid to late game cards boosted by the ramp he's had, while also being on the play.
Well, he has 3 card draws. That's the good benefit here, is he's got 3 card draws to hopefully... we got the card draw for his turn, card draw off Fortisphere, card draw on turn 2, and even one more on turn 3. So technically 4 card draws. But we see inking I'm Still Here and slapping down DeVille Manor. Like I said, this one is a 1 cost, 4 strength, 1 lore, 1 moving cost. Although the moving cost, you only move it there just because it's funny.
It's a great thing to do.
It's a funny thing. It's kind of funny. So, all right. So he gets a nice inkable card, strength, which Bell can sing, but not to anything meaningful right now.
How thoughtful. Not to anything meaningful.
Yeah, I'm here. They aren't people. They don't have meaning. This is
she
a location.
Can sing to herself.
She can sing to herself, and she will. She likes to sing through the village going, look at these little people with jobs. They're so silly. That's like my favorite part of the movie. She's like, look at all these people with jobs. I want to read. And I'm like, Belle, don't make fun of people working. All right. So Calhoun is here to put the pressure on.
I agree with Belle. Just let the girl read her books, have fun.
Yeah, but she's talking a lot of trash on people. She's like, look at the baker baking bread. And he does that every day. I was like, well, he's feeding his family, Belle. Read the room. All right. So we got a Tipo into Tipo. And we go ahead and ink that dime. We don't have time for the dime right now. And like you said, we see a Scrooge, which is you wanted that Scrooge. So Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas to Artabax. It's looking not bad for him.
Yeah, because he knows Calhoun's not going to sing anything. And she's not the minute she turns sideways, Bell's coming. So now she's just kind of hanging out. Now he does get a lure off of DeVille Manor. He's gotten 2 off of it. So eventually Belle would like to come for that manor, but not a huge hurry right now. All right. So
I just nailed that ad in the past. Right when the game finished. It feels good when I do that.
Be like me and just subscribe. I was like, if I see one more commercial for adult diapers, which honestly disgusting. And the thing is, I thought it was something I did at some point because people are like, it's based on your search history.
It
It's not,
is.
because my friend got it. So what are we all searching for adult diapers?
You were
I think it's
talking about diapers together.
well, yeah, probably right. Like we're like when we hang out, me and the girls. Anyway,
Me and the girls were just like, what diapers do you wear?
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously depend. How'd you find out about it? Well, I was watching my friend's stream and the most helpful ad popped up.
And I said, well, that's what's going to solve that problem. My goodness. Anyway, finally, the chat caught up to locations don't equal people. I love it. I love a delayed chat. Ursula says, you got any songs? He goes, I did. And now I don't. But he also has some menacing cards here. Both the Scrooge. Well, I mean, the Scrooge is going to obviously. Hiram has no popsicles, no sheet metal. So we gotta go with that Scrooge next turn.
No sheet metal.
Nope. All right, so we're thinking here.
It's like, do we just allow a trade with our Calhoun? Doing so allows the manor, theoretically, to survive longer. Are we going to ink the... is the mine good enough? Like, are we inking mine play manor, so next turn we can ink manor dock? If we draw an uninkable, we get so punished keeping the mine.
Yeah, but I mean, I think if you're going to have a dock, you got to get some use out of it. So he'll ink DeVille and get a cove out there. So, why not? We're gonna live in a world where we manifest John Silver. John Silver's not here yet, but if we can manifest Scrooge, we can manifest John Silver. So we do see Tipo go to the inkwell. We already had one Tipo. Why would we need a second? And Scrooge is going into the vault. Oh, and he's got 2 items. He's got a forest sphere and a lucky dime. So he goes ahead and he takes the forest sphere. He shows it to the camera, and he can't play it. He has to wait a little bit there. Scrooge is good, but he's not going to play that item for free. You got to pay. I'm so sorry, but we've got some other characters down there that would love that Fortis Sphere to be played next turn. In the meantime, Tipo is a little bit of a weakling, and I would imagine that Calhoun is not going to be here for much longer. Now, Belle would have to trade, but at least it takes the pressure off of knowing that Calhoun could get that lore boost or burst of lore by challenging. But we shall see if he chooses to go that route or stay upright one more turn and see how it shakes out. You missed a very good accent. I did a Scrooge accent for longer than I should have, but I committed. So right now we're seeing, is Belle going into that Calhoun? Is Belle staying upright? Or is Belle going into the hidden cove? I mean, I feel like she almost should go for the Calhoun. Now that would be a trade. But we will see how that ends up working out in that regard. Hidden Cove, notably, is a 6 strength. So it's kind of beefy. So yeah, she goes for the Calhoun. Hurts. It hurts to lose a Belle, but these things happen. Tipo, on the other hand, I don't know why he showed that Fortisphere. Oh, he was saying that's what I got off Scrooge. And then he takes the Tipo into Hidden Cove. Just why not? Put 1 damage on it. Scrooge will start. He'll work. They can work together, and by next turn, get rid of it if they use teamwork.
Yep. There's a world that a 3/3 ends up coming down next turn while Scrooge is taking down the clean one. Artabax does have the one of Baboom. So, like he might be able to send Tipo back at it, top deck that Baboom, take it down. He's only at 4 ink. He's probably just drawing 3 cards, but there's a lot of things that could happen. It's like Kurt top decked extra docks while I was gone. That seems unpleasant.
They hang out together. Doc loves a cohort of doctors. So the cohort of doctors are together. He's going to go ahead and protect his little Ursula, or rather move it to there so that way, she can do enough damage.
Well, that's
to take
a cove.
Yeah, we got a cove in a manor. It's
like, why did we move it to the manor?
Yeah,
so that makes way more sense. Way more sense.
Beefy lady. The problem is at this point, you said, if he has no inkables, this is gonna be a problem, and that's that problem. We're there. We're at that problem you talked about, where 2 docks, not enough.
There's that Baboom.
Yeah, there it is. So, where is he Babooming? You think he's that wants to get rid of that Ursula.
I think we get rid of the mine. We could hit the
Yeah.
mine, or we just ink it because we don't need it. But the Flaversham's better. We could also, so we
Oof.
could have hit the mine, challenge the mine, use the fire the cannons on the Ursula, leaving him just with one location to lure ink on, and then waited a turn to develop. But Artabax is saying he's at a low lore. I can kind of ignore the locations while putting the beat down on with Scrooge, but committing my card draw, getting more cards in hand so I can slam this crab down the next turn.
Yeah, and he is. He's putting on that pressure, like you said. And Scrooge says, "Oh, hey, real estate." So he goes ahead.
I think
gets
Scrooge
rid of-
loves real estate.
Oh,
I
hey,
think
other
he's like,
people's real estate.
He's
I
going
want
to
them
beat it
play.
up and buy it out from underneath him. Scrooge is a
Yeah.
CEO of CEOs.
I get depends. Okay, so other people get adult diaper ads. Thank you. Yeah, no shame, but the problem is like it seemed okay. I also got a commercial for adults with aging skin, and I said, "Shots fired, please,
No
please."
shame there either, geez.
I guess, but like, come on, can you give me an ad for like cool middle-aged young adults, whatever? I guess that is it. Diapers and
Do
makeup.
people
Anyway,
constantly assume you're younger than you are because you aged great? Do you wear clothes that other people look at you poorly upon because they wish they could fit in them? This ad is for you, Katie. Is that the kind of commercials we need?
exactly. All right, so we see Scrooge McDuck's luck run out. Scrooge McDuck, he got challenged there and then moved to the mine. So basically, the Ursula being in the cove was enough to deal 2 damage, and then moving to the mine was 2 more. Sorry, moving to the mine was 2 more. So kind of annoying, but he did not choose to discard his hand because he's like, I'll wait next turn. I don't have to do it yet. I'll save up.
I
But
think
we
I'm
see
gonna
another
get into
Scrooge.
ad marketing because I think I might buy something if they targeted it that way at me. I'm pretty vain.
Yeah, right. All right, so we see a popsicle come down and as well with the Scrooge, draw another card. So that way he's like, what do I want to ink? And might as well. Tipo tipped the
We're gonna
scales
draw all
last
the
time, but he's
cards.
got to go here. And will we pop that popsicle?
Tipo's doing his job. When he's not ramping you, he's diving into the inkwell himself. He is a team player. Are we putting damage on a location and playing a bell? We got some tricksies.
Yeah, and this makes sense because I mean, Hiram's not doing a lot of damage to a location. Baboom's not doing any damage. So having a bell and a Scottish aggressive duck feels a little bit better, and especially because we know we're going to get those items back if everything goes well next turn with that crab.
That's not the Diablo you want to be drawing right there.
No, but it is fun if you want to just get some gossip.
It's
Be
ink.
like, it is ink, and then he can empty his hand. So that might be kind of probably.
And honestly, it's at this point in the game, like we're only at 6. We're trying to flood. Our locations are about to be taken down. We might even just play it and then dock. But at the same time, if we ink and then dock, we get to draw Pete. Yeah, we're going to the inkwell.
I'm trying to change the chat because the chat keeps debating what I said 5 minutes ago. So I'm just going to put a different emoji. Maybe we can get the chat to get off that topic. But they're not doing it. So, but we do see, going in, get 2 more cards. He has 3 more, so he can slap down that P. But he already passed. No,
I think he's thinking about, do I want to play the Smee or do I want to play the Pete?
Yeah, which honestly,
a lot of cards were drawn. You have to assume there's at least one song.
Yeah, and I mean, Pete, we love to think about songs, but it's actions. So Baboom would be off the table. So he says, okay, I'll just put out a Pete, do my best, even though he knows 4 and 3 damage are probably coming across the board no matter what. And while we're here, might as well just quest with that cute little doctoral student doc. So he doesn't even need a crab to get some items. He got an item right off the top. So now it's just what order is he going to do this in? Kurt's at 7 lore. We have Artabax still at 0, but the momentum can quickly shift, especially if he gets these locations. And then he just has some little guys, and he's not as scared of those. Well, Pete's kind of a problem, but
Pirate Pete could be an issue for sure.
well, with the long game zoos, well, not yet, but that's nice to have up your sleeve. I keep saying up your sleeve, and I feel like I should not say that in card games. It's nice to have in your hand where it belongs, as is legal in the game.
Yep, just a little sleight of hand, and you'll have that
Yeah.
Zeus when you
Yeah,
need
I
it.
gotta stop saying that because that's a common colloquialism, but it's just not appropriate in this setting. And we can see he's not even wearing sleeves. Look, that is a naked elbow. All right, so now he's got some fun little options here because we know we can't do any singing, we can't do baboom, but we can crab, we can play Hiram. So it's kind of at this point he's got 6 ink, so he would need to ink Hiram to play the crab. So instead he's going to quest and get some more cards while he's here.
More information. Always
while
draw
I'm in
first.
the store. Yeah, while I'm at the store, I might as well pick up some more cards. And he gets more crabs, more Hirams. Flab them if you have them, ink them if you have them too, I guess.
Yeah, get that mouse out of here. We don't need it. We have plenty of card draw in form of our in-play mouse. And the double crabs are going to be able to draw cards as well. And we've got some big beat sticks down. Boots.
Yeah.
Yes, they've got big feet. They're stomping all around.
They're doing... That's what crabs do. But
Scrooge.
they only walk sideways. So as long as
Yep.
you stand in front of the crab, he cannot get you. He can only go side to side.
Scrooge might not have pants on, but he's got some boots.
He does. And these boots are made for stepping on some locations. So we'll see where they lean into on this. And that is first off in the Cove. And I think both of them have to go in the Cove, unfortunately. Which one little mine. I'm not scared. I'm a little scared. Let's see. Mine is sitting at it's another 6 willpower. But either way, whittling away at these mines, his characters survive. Meanwhile, he's slowly losing those locations. He cannot sing this Along Came Zeus, which has to feel annoying given that he only has 5 ink and he would like to play that Smee at some point. So at this point, he either has to pay 4 ink to do Along Came Zeus, or he can do some pretty ineffective challenging. He can move this dock to the mine to deal 2 damage. So that is something up his arse or up his sleeve to deal some damage. But it's difficult. But he does have a little bit of a lead here. Not by a little bit. I mean, he's up 8. So what are your thoughts on should he deploy this Zeus, wait a turn? What would be the best tempo play here?
I mean, it's pretty scary. You don't want to see a dime come into play. Artabax has 1,000 cards, and it can challenge. Like, what else are you going to Zeus? And just getting the Smee in play is all right, but you can Zeus and then maybe Smee again with another card. They're both kind of there. Choices. He can go up to 11, but he does lose at least one of his docks and most likely the Pete.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good feeling because at the end of the day, he has 2 cards. I mean, and there's no way to draw more this turn. So he just has to kind of go with none of what he could do right now feels super good. It would be a lot more relaxing for him if he could get a couple cards in his hand, but we know he has played both his docks, and he might be making... All right, so we see 2 to move him to the mine. Yeah. And then move.
Maybe we ink the Smee and we just Zeus. And we're trying to just, like, clear as much off as we can. So then we can hope. And now, all right, so if Bell... Well, the problem is that we can't quest with our ready dock. Because if we do, then Bell eats that character, and we can't move that.
He's gonna do it anyway
to the location to then clear the Bell, which is fair. Maybe the one lore is worth it more here.
Yeah, I mean,
he has go for.
It's rough because I mean, we look. Artabax has some top-notch cards in his hand. Kurt, not the greatest cards in his hand because there are none. So he did what he had to do to get 2 more lore, but we know that Artabax can draw a lot of cards this turn. He can get a crab out. I mean, it's pretty scary the amount of things he can do right now. Now, I
And
can't see how
there's
much.
1
Oh,
damage, 2 damage on the mine.
yeah, I was gonna say I cannot see currently. There is a dice with an amount of damage on it.
And
Oh,
Hades too. This
and
is
that's nice to
not
have,
looking good for Kurt.
especially in top deck mode, because if he's able to clear these 2 docks, as he definitely can if he wants to, uh, Zeus is great against somebody who's in top deck mode.
Oh yeah. It just really seems to just go into Sapphire Steel. So Sapphire Steel and Sapphire Ruby, they're both archetypes that have rampant, insane amounts of card draw. So the longer the game goes on, the more cards they're going to draw, and they're going to stabilize and run away with it, unless you also have card advantage engine to maintain the velocity. And as we can see, Kurt had a little bit of dock, but he drew both of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have a Diablo active. He's not playing the discard package. And like honestly, in my mind, that's why I play the discard package, is because you get the virtual card advantage for making them discard cards, and you get the card advantage from drawing cards from the Prince John. And
Yeah,
Artabax is going to town.
yeah, and I mean we're not going to post game yet, but that is something I am interested in. The post game is kind of, you had discard and you said I don't need it. What kind of made him make that choice here? I imagine obviously everybody knows that locations can be a problem, but in this case we've seen locations that slowed Artabax down, but it has not stopped him because he has more cards than he started with at the beginning of the game currently.
Yeah, and just so many cards to draw here. It's disheartening from the opponent's side from that, and then drawing a location that doesn't really do much. Just
It
gets
is fun
challenged.
looking at the chat who's 5 minutes ago going,
Oh, it does
wow.
something there.
Yeah, because he can move and then move back. But someone said, wow, it looks really bad for Kurt. And I'm like, you just wait till 5 minutes from now. Things get really hairy. But he's still doing things. He's still making moves over here. But it's survival mode.
So Kurt made a slight minor misstep right there. It does not matter because Kurt knows, we all know, this dock is not going to survive another turn.
Yeah.
But if the dock could have survived another turn, but say there was just a Scrooge in play, it might have taken down the other location to prevent dock from bouncing. Whereas if you had moved dock to the other location, then the dock gets taken down instead. So maybe I guess you could argue that it's a way to bait the aggressiveness to go towards dock instead of the location.
Man, it is hard when you're watching your opponent. Like you're sitting there, you're like, please, sir, can I have some cards? And they're just like, what do I play with all my cards? And that's not the voice I assume he's saying, but it feels that way. It feels like you're with the bourgeoisie of cards, just making so many choices. What am I going to do? In this case, he says, well, I know I have a lot of items in my hand, so I'll just put down this big old 5/8 crab, invest in myself, and then cause some problems here in the next turn. Because the odds of him top decking solutions for 2 big crabs is nigh impossible with the amount of ink he has. So we do say goodbye, Doc. We say goodbye to the mine. And now we just have DeVille Manor going, am I going to win this? And I don't know, DeVille Manor. We'll see. We'll see what you can do. But I don't know if you're going to be around for much longer. What about a little bird? Oh, my God. I would say don't show me. I would say I'm good. You don't have to. I don't want to see it. It's private. Because, yeah, we see here removal, 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 item, 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 Flaversham. So
Kurt just wants to see it.
He's like, can I see?
The game's over.
Do you think he went, oh? That's what I would do in that case. I mean,
he might not have done that, but his soul did. I mean, yeah. I did that. Like, it's
hard. You're like, let me see. No, I don't want to see. Put it away. Put it away.
And he gets to sit here and wait for 2 turns, maybe 3.
Yeah.
Maybe Artabax hits the dime to end it sooner, but I think we saw him ink it off a Tipo. Was that this game?
He did this game, yeah. And he does only run, I believe. I mean, most people aren't running too many dimes because they're kind of a pain in the butt if you have them in your hand for too long. 2. So we might not see that dime, but does he need it? No. So that just means Kurt gets to be a patient boy and go, you wouldn't hurt my bird. You wouldn't hurt my manor, right? And he says, I would.
You'd
I would
never do
absolutely.
such a thing.
I would absolutely fire the cannons. It's to the point where he fired the cannon and Kurt's like, "What? Oh, sorry. I was thinking about what I'm going to eat after this." Because it's just, and we see 2 Cogsworth in there, which is also egregious. Because I mean, he's got a lot of fun little things he can do. And he's like, you know what? While I'm here, can I get that manor?
I mean, Kurt's at 13. It's so close. It's just like, could we hit Doc into Smee? Doc, draw 2 more cards. Ink, play location. Or Ink, play 1-drop pass and be like, let's do that 2 turns in a row. But as you said, we've gone past the Doc limit.
Yeah, and I mean it's also that whole reach thing. I mean, we've seen in decks people really love. I've seen decks that run Glean at this point because it's just nice to have something that's like I gotta get further and I can't do Questing right now. So it is something that's very valuable and something that he does not have in his deck. So he just has to even
That's a
something like
big
discard
quest.
at this point. Oh, he's just doing
It's
so
like-
much. I mean, in Artabax Spence, he's going fast. He's like, I'll be efficient. I'm just gonna do some things here really quick. So he is being a good player over there and clean board, clean play. Oh.
What a fantastic draw for Kurt. I'm sure that was the thing he wanted to draw more than anything else.
Why did he play it? Just because he feels sad?
Because it was funny.
Okay, it's funny. Okay, I was like, what is that? And the answer is it's his soul leaving his body as we look at Lorthel on board. If he puts those items
Maybe.
down. I mean, I can't, in the upper right-hand corner, it looks like we have 2 items in a pile, but I think he asked, like, how many items do you have? And he's like, enough. Yep. So that was, Artabax, you know him for Amethyst Emerald, but he says, how about you know me for 2 decks? You want to know me for Sapphire Steel? And that Artabax gets to stay undefeated.
I mean, Artabax played Emerald Amethyst. He played Amethyst Ruby. He's played Sapphire Steel. And he played I think he did the Kiwi for a little bit here or there as well. And it shouldn't surprise people. The best players of the game are very good at the game, not just a single color pairing.
Yes.
They're going to be good with most cards you put into their hand.
And they played against every deck too. So that's the other thing. So we will go ahead in our little post interview here.
All right.
Do you hear me?
Okay, so we are in the match. So hello, Artabax and Kurt.
Hey.
Hello. Good evening.
Yes, good. Yeah, good evening. Yeah, it's probably that where you are. So congratulations, Artabax, on your 3rd win on round 3. But also, Kurt, that was a great game. We saw that you changed your deck dramatically. So, Luke, I'll let you start off. What kind of questions do you have for our players?
Oh man, just out of the blue, you're like, you take the ball. I'll take it. All right.
You've
So,
got the
locations.
good questions. My questions, yeah.
Locations. What made you decide to jump onto that train?
Yeah, so with the format of this tournament, it was known with the 2-0 players, we were on 3 blue steel and an emerald steel. And so I figured that, one, most of the blue steel decks in the format have just naturally gotten better against emerald steel through playing, 4 of the 8-cost Tamatoa. They're pretty prepared with Diablo answers. In fact, Europe was very prepared with the Diablo answers with Babooms and Fire the Cannons. And so I figured typical green steel would have a pretty tough time. But blue steel can struggle with locations just depending on how fast their draw is. And I started with a pirate themed location deck with Daisy Duck. And I ended up just taking her out to play Diablos as, just the extra draw. I figured if Diablo takes out a card from their hands and draws me a card, that's enough of a trade. It's more of a dock deck than anything. And the pirate count didn't really quite seem right for it. So, yeah, this is what I ended up on.
I did mention at the beginning, I was like, I see all these locations, and I feel like it's a crime that Daisy Duck is not in here to draw some. But maybe that's just too spicy, too slow for what needs to be done.
Has deadline is too
flavorful.
bad, probably, right?
Yeah,
has
a
deadline
4 cost
is-
3/3.
yeah.
But it's so flavorful. The flavor,
Yeah, that's
the
true.
spice from it, it's too good.
Oh, she was certainly in the first build of this deck, and the second and the third, and then eventually she just ended up finding her way out of it. And I was also inspired to add Diablo back into the deck from an opponent. I played round 2 of the 13K in Atlanta last weekend, and I was playing red blue, and they beat me with Emerald Steel pirate locations, and they were also playing Diablo, but not a ton of actions for it. Just kind of the bare minimum removal you would already play it anyways. But I'm still here as an interesting card against steel decks, especially when you already have some resist cards in the deck. So you can kind of buff that up and replace itself. Yeah, but I wish I was playing Daisy Duck.
It's always a card that you're like, nah, I don't need it, and then you get there, you're like, oh, I kind of miss it. So, but it was exciting to see the locations, especially because we saw Artabax say, locations, get out, and you got rid of the manor.
Wait, I just want to clarify. When you say you missed Daisy Duck, were you saying that you missed the Emerald one in that deck, or you wish you were playing an Amber list?
Oh yeah, I wish I had the pirate Daisy Duck.
Okay.
Only flavor-wise, I wish she was in here. Card efficiency-wise, it's got a cool flavor.
It seems so good if you get to survive and do all the things, but you're probably winning anyways.
If you get to survive, that's a good plan. But I'm interested to know, Artabax, you made some changes as well. So notably, you said dimes get in here, locations get out, and you also went all in on fishbones. We saw you get all of them in your hand. So what made you make the changes that you made on your deck?
Yeah, a bit of the same. I mean, I was before I was more on the bit more aggressive list, but then I knew I was playing against either 2 blue steels or Kurt, and the blue steel is my initial blue steel is really struggles against the Scrooge version. Also, I found out that Scrooge as a card in itself is too good to miss. So I want to. And if you play Scrooge, then you fit in more items, and it suddenly becomes a completely different deck. And then, you also play dimes then, and you also play fishbones to have more items in. I think just the ramping up to Scrooge is just too good play to miss out. That's what I found out, and that's what I learned from Moyen a lot, to be honest, because he played this since day one, the deck like this. And I think it's probably, it seems like maybe it's still a bit too late game. Even for me, it's still a bit greedy sometimes to play 2 dimes and this many Tamators, and there are a lot of matchups where you really don't need them. But yeah, it's obviously a very powerful deck, and seems like one of the I mean, it's still in the finding process, but seems to be like one of the top contenders for the meta game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And we did get clarification that the VW ketchup is for Volkswagen ketchup. I was like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? But somebody has got the German lore, and they set us up. We're all fixed.
Yeah, it's just from my team. One teammate of me just put in this deck list, this name for his deck list in the tournament, and then I had to laugh so much, so I always name my deck now VW Ketchup.
It was beautiful, and it made me think. It made me have a crisis where I reached out to people and said, "Someone tell me what is it."
Sorry.
Oh no, that's it. It's just I had a crisis.
So it's like the Kiwi Birds deck, right? Everyone thinks, "Wow, what's that meaning?" And it absolutely means nothing.
Katie didn't like finding out that decks were named after cereals. She really doesn't like them being.
I know. I'm like, what does it mean? I'm like shaking my computer. Someone tell me, I'm gonna lose it. And this one was like I had to know German culture. I'm like, there's other ketchups. So it was a lot. It's a deep one, but we got it sorted. So congratulations on your win. That's very exciting. Oh, do you have another question?
We all want to know: does it taste like Heinz? What kind?
Yeah,
of
Heinz, better or worse.
Or is it more like Turk's ketchup?
Or is it curried ketchup? I love curry ketchup.
Oh, I really don't know. I mostly thought of the red normal ketchup. It's a good question. I have to ask my
Okay.
teammate.
Next round.
Alright.
We'll get
We'll
back to
find
you.
out. We'll be back
What's
with
the
that
initial?
info.
Yeah, what's the lore behind it? I
Mhm.
have to ask him. Yeah.
Some top of everyone's mind. They're like, round 4, we don't care. We want to know about the ketchup.
Exactly.
It's the most
Yeah.
important thing. We must know.
Yeah.
So, going forward, do you think you're going to stick with this more item-centric Scrooge build? Do you think that's the way most people are going to go? It's kind of seen a lot of people have kind of faded off of the Oswald build and a little bit even the Kiwi.
Yeah. Yeah. As I said, yeah. I think it's at least a card that contains Scrooge as in itself is probably the best blue steel direction. I think, but I'm still a bit on the fighting process. That I think maybe you don't need that much greedy endgame stuff. But then next round, for example, I will play against blue steel, so it will be a dime war probably. So it's for this specific tournament. It's probably like this, yeah. It will be weird the tagging for the next round when we already know who I'm playing against. That it's
Right.
really weird deck building. That could be a weird list. Then I have to think
I
about it.
can't wait. I want to see like
Uh,
some crazy, never played cards that just like
yeah,
dominate the matchup, right? Like,
yeah. They could really think of some weird cards. Yeah, but I have to go to the database. But in general, I think I will work more on this list, and probably I still think cards like there could be if you misspell, for example, you really struggle against aggressive strategies. So I still think you could add in more consistency against some early board game fights that you're not completely reliant on balanced Scrooge, like Smee putting back or something. I could imagine, and even though you want to ramp on turn 2, still late in the game, Smee is always a good character, and a bit less. I mean, time is a card. I don't know. I'm not a blue player for forever, and every time I play with this card, I think, how can this card win you more games than it loses you? It's so weird. I draw this so often in my opening hand, but it's
Yeah.
obviously powerful, of course. But yeah,
You disturbed.
yeah,
You
it
disturbed some people
disturbs.
with it. Yeah, people were
Yeah,
disturbed to see it in your hand.
and if you think
like
about the
what's he
whole
doing with
matchup spread,
time?
yeah, and if you think about the whole matchup spread, if you play Amber Steel, Purple Steel, there's so many matchups where you really want to have this card in your deck, right? It's just really not only these grindy matchups, and therefore it's a 7-cost uninkable card. So, but still, one copy or so is still probably must. It's just too high rolly with the Tamador nonsense. So yeah,
Well,
I have to figure out, but I think it could be a bit more of a mix. Middle of the things build could also work. Maybe still with manners or something, and more diverse than this linear. So also think if you go full on this Tamator thing, then people maybe put in a lot of spot removal and Hades and stuff. So yeah, still in the finding process for me, but yeah, the core of the deck is probably like 45, 50 cards are solved out in blue steel for me. Yes, yeah.
well, and I'm wondering something for Kurt and for you as well, because Kurt and Artabax, you're going in because both of you are going to round 4, correct? You're still in this tournament. You can lose once and still stay in, correct?
Yeah.
So, what do you think? We're heading into set champ season just like in a couple weeks. Like, as people are watching this and they're watching you guys make crazier and crazier deck lists, do you think these decks like translate to the real world, or is this like a special microcosm of just like a weird test scenario of people who know who they're playing, know they're in this special tournament? Or do you think people should be net decking these decks and be like, nope, you got it. Go to locals. These will be ready to go in a larger
We
Lorcana
broke
scene.
it.
Yeah.
I would say for a lot of our card choices, especially with both mine and Artabax's deck, I think that a lot of the choices are based on what our matchups could have been, since we only had 2 decks really.
Yeah.
Especially because the blue steel mirror lends itself to converge to wanting to have all of the late game tools. And so because of that, you almost have to play more than you otherwise even would want in the mirror match, just because you need to be able to get a leg up if you get into a Hades, Tamatoa, Lucky Dime scenario. And like Artabax was saying, Lucky Dime is really more of a one-of card when you're playing these kind of decks in an open field. But once you know that you're going to likely play a blue steel matchup or emerald steel, having two Lucky Dimes certainly starts to make more sense. And then for my deck, I completely tooled it for the blue steel matchup. I said if he doesn't have Bell on turn 1 and Scrooge on turn 3, then these locations are going to gain a lot of lore, be able to gain just random card advantage, like with the Dwarf Mine, being able to finish characters off and work out. But unfortunately, he had both the Bell and the Scrooge early both times.
Still was close though in first game.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean for my deck, to be honest, it's not too far away from what you could play in an open field. Probably it's not incorrect to play some Diablo answers, because Diablo seems kind of popular. It's always hard to figure out between Baboom and Fire Decans, because Fire Decans is the way better card most of the time, but it's uninkable and it hurts in a lot of matchups. So that's tough. But other than that, the Cogsworths are debatable. I think I wanted to put him in because we have a lot of I faced only steel decks and he's really good. But other than that, I think you could play the most like this. I think.
well, I'm gonna do it,
It's
so that's why I
always-
asked. So yeah, I was like,
It's
well, okay,
always
then I'm gonna.
good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say.
No, I was just excited.
It's always good when you're able to play a list from an event and be like, yes, this feels right. This is the way
Yeah.
that it
Versus when you're like, what is this? What is the play? What's the plot here? But yeah, no, this deck, it's been
Well-
interesting to see it evolve too, especially from your one that you released right after the set came out to now. It's been very
Yeah.
cool to see it.
Yeah,
Well, I
especially for me the biggest the eye opener was Scrooge. That's the hidden gem of the deck, F of the set. For
super
me.
good.
When I first saw them, maybe too high deck building cost to make this work, but it's so.
It's
Just
just
the
an
body
aerial.
is so, and it's just the body is so good. Imagine a 4/4 that replaces itself is really good. You can't ask for more. And I underestimated this card a lot. And because the other cards, Tamatoa and stuff, we all knew they were very, very powerful and Coil and stuff. But Scrooge was a bit of a. I mean, nobody said it's bad, but it was kind of an underdog in the beginning.
He's a problem. He's a problem all around. From the moment he comes down, he's just a problem.
Yeah, shout out to
Yeah.
the store that didn't send mine after the spike in price increase. Thank you very much.
Uh,
And on that shout out, would either of you have any shout outs you'd like to give?
Scrooge McDuck's in the Disney Vault.
yes.
Yeah, as always, I want to shout out to my wife, and because she supports me so much, and to my team, because I have a very great team that I'm in now with some really good friends also, and shout out to my co-host LD, with whom I make my podcast. That's that.
Wonderful. And Kurt, what
Kurt?
about you? You got any shout outs to game stores that have hurt you or people who've helped you?
Yeah, shout out to World Class Cards, my team. And World Class Cards is hosting 2 5Ks this weekend that I'll be flying out to tomorrow. I'm looking forward to those. There's going to be 2 Orkana artists there. Big event both Saturday and Sunday. It is kind of winter weather still there, but that's okay. We're here to game. We're going to be indoors. That's okay. We're sheltered. And, shout out to everybody in the DMV Lorcana scene. A lot of people been tagging me, just good luck throughout this whole event and watching me. And yeah, it's just really cool. So shout out to everybody local as well.
Well, I would also like to give some shout outs to the judging staff and all the other casters, like really doing a lot of
Oh, yeah,
steps
sorry,
to be able
yeah,
to get this together.
Yeah, of
we
course,
can't
always.
all shout them out. It's okay. One of us shouting them
Yeah.
out is all right.
I know.
I wanna
I'll take,
I wanna
I'll
shout 'em
take
out,
everyone
yeah.
shouting me out.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll each take a
One at a
turn
time.
shouting out.
Phil.
No, Ellie was the
all
judge on
shout
this
out
match,
it.
just to
Oh,
be clear. I was
Wait,
just,
so just Phil's just here. All right.
I was
well,
just here.
All right. Well, thank you, Ellie, and then Phil's cool.
And Pavel and the viewers like you who like keep coming here and go. I just really like saying and the viewers like you. Very PBS
Yeah.
of me. And it was a blast, and I'd like to thank everyone for being here. But I think we're gonna head out here shortly. So thanks again, and you all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.